Our topic is on understanding parents. Uh, by the expression, uh, on the face of Junior, you know that it's very, very challenging for children to understand their parents. Okay? Right now, I am going to show you the most misunderstood person in the home. Your dad. In fact, he is criticized by his own wife, sometimes even his mother, for his chronic inability in expressing any form of affection. The problem is, many times we have a difficulty in understanding his love language. If you see the next slide, you would look at it and you tell me, how do you perceive his love language? On the extreme left, this is how the father sees. In the middle, this is how the son sees. And on the right side, my right side, this is exactly as how the mother sees. Where mom might see danger, dad see a chance to toughen his young fellow for the realities of life. What will we do without dads? Look at the next slide. Look at the mother playing with the child. So calm, so composed, so dignified. Look at the dad on the other side. Junior is at the other end of a blower. And he's having a hard day with the dad. Look at the next slide. Look at how mom is playing with the daughter. Look at it, so dignified. While dad, it looks like he's having a good time. Look at the next slide. Baby doll is a fairy today, while Junior on the other side is having a hard time. You know, he's bound to the surfboard. He's a pirate. Fathers are more likely to show affection by doing something supportive rather than making verbal expression. You know, they would rather take the child out for a trekking. They would solve a problem for you. They would sometimes, their love language involves correcting. We had this couple in the church, this family in the church, and this man think the only way to love his family is to continually correct them, you know, the wife and the children. And none of them appreciate it. But that's the way he expresses his love. You know, there are some instincts that are really, really strong in him. And it's important for us to understand what those instincts are, our dad's instincts, so that we would understand him better. The first and the foremost instinct of the father is he is a fierce protector. Whether you like it or not, those questions are going to come back. What time are you going to reach there? Who is traveling with you? When you reach there, send me a message. Are you safe there? And you keep on asking these questions, and your children get really frustrated. My Sarah would say, Dad, I am an adult. Don't you trust me? He is a fierce protector. We have actually a picture of a protective father. I'm sure most of you know the story of the prodigal son. After so many months or years, this fellow comes back home. But I love this verse which says, while the son was still a very far way off, the father saw him, ran towards him, hugged him and kissed him. And I was thinking to myself, how is that this son who would have left the house, may have left the house months back or probably years back, to be caught up exactly at that moment that father, see this guy. Circumstance, chance, perhaps. I'm not establishing a doctrine here, but I have a small theory. You know, there is a Levitical law hanging like a knife over this guy's head, the son's head. And that law says that if this wayward son comes back ever into that village, every righteous Hebrew guy there can pick up a stone and legally stone him to death, and he would be doing exactly what the law has prescribed for him. And I think this father knew about it, and perhaps he would have been standing there day in and day out, you know, just to see if my son is coming, so that before anybody could pick up the stone, there he runs all the way to his son, hugs him and says, communicates to the society there, if anybody has to pick up a stone and stone him, it has to go through me. He is a protector. That's his primary intuitive instincts. The next strong urge in him, he is the provider. Dada, I need money. Who do you think gets the call in the house? I have my children calling me up, you know, when they run short of money. And this is, my son has actually put a Malayalam song which actually sings about lack of money. That's his ringtone. I know, you know, sometimes it's even more serious than that. Sometimes your elder son may just walk up to you and says, Dada, I need to do my higher studies. And you would say, okay. And he would say, there are only 2 universities offering this course. One is in Australia, the other is in the US. So you'd say, how much you want? And it would be so much of dollars. And then you think for some time, he says, okay, son, we'll do it. And then he says, Dada, you have these commitments. Your loan is there, your commitments are there. No problem, we'll somehow manage. And that night, very late into the night, perhaps there is a conversation in hushed tone between dad and mom. She would be asking, how do you think you can send him? Oh, we will redefine priorities. Maybe we'll break that FD. Maybe we will sell the car. We don't need the car. You know, we can just, life is going to be tough the next 2-3 years, but somehow we will send Junior. We will give him the education that he wants. Friends, some of you are adults here. You still have your dad and mom. Do you realize that perhaps the fancy degree that you have, the cars that you drive, talks about innumerable sacrifice your parents had to do to see you in this position? The best part of their life they gave for us. And sometimes we fail to realize that what we are enjoying today is their sweat and their blood. So they are protectors, they are providers. Sometimes it's not just money. Sometimes they provide wisdom, perspective, insight. Dads. There is a study that I did, and they said even from birth, children who have had an involved father in their life are more likely to be emotionally secure, confident, and they do have better social connections. Emotionally secure, confident, better social. So much so that they say that if you've had an involved father in your life, it actually positively affect every relationship that child would ever have, right from friends, lover, spouse, whatever. This is the foundation. What can we do without our fathers? Thank God for fathers. But before we progress, I want you to see a small video clipping here, and then we would progress.
Just give me 1 second. Thank
Sure.
you. Sorry. Uh-huh. Hey. Hi. 2 minutes. Thank you. Hi, good afternoon. Sorry about that.
Oi.
Hi, nice
Hi.
to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Have you ever done one of these interviews over the camera before?
No.
Well, let me tell you a little bit about the job to get started with. It's not just a job, it's sort of probably the most important job. The title that we have going right now is Director of Operations, but it's really kind of so much more than that. Responsibilities and requirements are really quite extensive. First category for the requirements would be mobility. This job requires that you must be able to work standing up most or really all of the time, constantly on your feet, constantly bending over, constantly exerting yourself, a high level of stamina.
Okay.
That's a lot.
For how many hours?
135 hours to unlimited hours a week. It's basically 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
I'm sure you'll have a chance from time to time to maybe just sit down here and there, yeah?
You mean like a break?
Yeah.
No, there are no breaks available.
Is that even legal?
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like no lunch.
You can have
or-
lunch, but only when the associate is done eating their lunch.
I think that's a little intense.
No.
Not possible.
That's crazy.
Now, this position requires excellent negotiation and interpersonal skill. We're really looking for someone that might have a degree in medicine, in finance, and the culinary arts. You must be able to wear several hats. Associate needs constant attention. Sometimes they have to stay up with an associate throughout the night. Being able to work in a chaotic environment, if you had a life, we'd ask you to sort of give that life up. No vacations. In fact, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, and holidays, the workload is gonna go up, and we demand that, with a happy disposition.
That's almost cruel. That's almost a very, very sick, twisted joke.
Worried about when there's time to sleep or...
Oh, no time to sleep.
Yeah, all-encompassing almost.
That's exactly right.
365 days a year?
Yes.
No, that's inhumane.
That's very insane.
The meaningful connections that you make and the feeling that you get from really helping your associate are immeasurable. Also, let's cover the salary. The position is gonna pay absolutely nothing.
Excuse me?
No. Nobody's doing that for free.
Yeah,
You're
pro
crazy.
bono, completely for free.
No.
What if I told you there's someone that actually currently holds this position right now? Billions of people, actually.
Who?
Moms.
Yeah.
Yeah. Moms.
That's awesome.
Oh.
And they meet every requirement, don't
wow.
Oh my God. Moms are the best.
Yeah, there's no pay. They're 24 hours. They're always there.
Now I'm thinking about my mom.
they? Yeah, and what are you thinking about her?
I'm thinking about all those nights and everything.
Thank you so much for everything you do. I know it doesn't seem like I appreciate all of it, but I definitely do.
So, Mom, I want to say thank you for everything that you've done. I love you very much. You've been there through thick and thin. My mom is just awesome. She's awesome.
What will we do without them? No pay, no holiday, no downtime, no promotion, sometimes even no appreciation also. Mom's love can almost be termed as unconditional. In fact, he is the first person who ever believed in you completely. As far as she is concerned, you would always ever be her VVIP. If you don't believe, take her to the school where you're studying, especially if you are taking part in an event, sports, or you are in a drama. I can assure you the loudest cheer for you would come from your mom. She would be all over the place. Yeah, that's my son. She would ensure that the entire auditorium knows who her son is. She worries and cares for you. You know, she would be bothered about everyone else's health in the house except her own. I remember my mother was diagnosed with a cancer of one of her breasts. So she was taken to CMC Vellore, and the doctor said the cancer has grown and we need to get one of your breasts removed. And so they did a mastectomy for her. And subsequent to that, they said, you need to undergo radiation as a backup. So 1 month, we took a house there, and I was doing my final year of dentistry. So I did have some time to spend with my mom. So my mom and I, we took up a small a guest house kind of thing. And so morning, she used to go for her radiation. And a lot of things were happening for her. She was really going through a bad time, recovering from a very major surgery, the after effects of radiation, and also the psychological trauma of a woman having lost one of her breasts. And you know, sometimes I would catch her in the kitchen. She can hardly stand, and the very sight of food would make her to throw up. But you know, I would catch her in the kitchen trying to put together a meal for me. And that's mom. However bad your day is, there would be one person who would be willing to sit with you on the other side of the table to listen to how your day has been. She would be the person who gets up in the night and check if the fever has come back. Pop in that crocin, you know, that paracetamol tablet into your mouth. You sit there for studies, you would hear a knock at 1 a.m. and she would be there with a cup of coffee. Moms, what can we do without them? She gets up to check on you, cries with you when you cry. She rejoices in your successes. Genuinely, if someone rejoices in your successes, it is always your mom. Why are we even having this conversation, this talk? You know, I put together a chart there, which I found in the net, the love between mom and dad. It's interesting. Mom is the one who loves you till you close your eyes, mother's love. What about dad? He loves you without any expression in his eyes. Here's mom. Mom introduces you to the world. Dad introduces the world to you. Mom gives you life. Dad gives you a living. Mom makes sure you're not starving. Dad makes sure you know the value of starving. Mom personifies care. You know, she's a nurturer. While dad personifies responsibility. Mother protects you from a fall. Dad helps you to get up from a fall. Mom teaches you walking. Dad teaches you the walk of life. Mom teaches from her own experience. Dad teaches you to learn from your own experience. She reflects ideology, he reflects reality. Mother's love is known to you since birth. Dad's love, you will know when you become a dad. Mother takes you in her arms to cuddle you, to nurture you, because she is intuitively a nurturer. You know, dad puts you in his shoulder to show you a world that he himself has not seen. Mother and father. Why are we even having this lecture? Bible puts a very simple standard for us, and that is honor your father and mother, which is the first commandment. This was there in the Big Ten, but it comes again in the New Testament. But it's not just a commandment, it's the first commandment with a promise attached to it. And what is the promise? That you will have a long quality life, a blessed life. That's the key. That's a spiritual key. Often we go overboard on healthy eating and aerobics and de-stress and laughing club and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying it's bad, but let's not negate the spiritual law that will come into existence because God has mandated it. If you want your life to be blessed, honor your father and mother. And this is binding for every person sitting here, however old you are. If your dad and mom are alive, this law is binding. This takes different connotation at different age group. For example, if you're a child, what does honor mean? It can be translated in just one word, obey. And the call is to do it cheerfully, immediately, and willingly. Obey your parents. That's how you honor them as a child. I like this verse. My son, keep your father's command. Do not forsake your mother's teaching. Bind them always in your heart. Fasten them around your neck. When you walk, it will guide you. When you sleep, they will watch over you, which means their commands would watch over you. When you are awake, they will speak to you. For this command is a light, this command is a lamp, this teaching is a light. Correction and instructions are the way to life. Every time an instruction comes from dad and mom, take it as a treasure. Take it as a treasure. Don't take it as a necessary evil. But sometimes you have progressed in life and you've become a teenager. And suddenly you realize that your dad, who was Superman till yesterday, and mom, who was the Wonder Woman, suddenly she's become flesh and blood. She is a person who's capable of making mistakes. And a lot of changes are coming in your body. Hormones are playing up. Friends become your life. And that's inevitable. But the Bible gives one small hint for you to honor your father and mother when you are a teenager. And that's the word that you should not forget. And the word is respect. Respect your parents. What does respect imply? It just implies that you would be considerate towards them, that you would not shout at them, that you would not throw your tender tantrums at them, that you would value their counsel, you would communicate with them in a real way what you're going through. These are all some of the implications. I love that verse in Proverbs which says, may your father and mother rejoice. May she who gave you birth be joyful. May your dad and mom rejoice. May your mother be joyful. Let's bring joy to them. Some of you are at this age. We have gone through that age. If they cry, God would see their tears. So it's important that we respect them. But then we have progressed in life and we have become adults. How do we honor them when we become adults? Okay, it talks about two things there. It says, listen to your father. And when we become old, we become very poor communicators. We don't want to listen to them anymore. We feel we have made it. Of course, you are responsible. It doesn't mean you have to instantly obey what they say. You are a separate government. But that doesn't negate that you don't spend time in listening. They may want to speak a lot of things. Some of you are far away from them. They may be back in their hometown. But do you know that from morning till evening, they are waiting for that phone call which would come from you? And sometimes I miss it. But now, being a father, my son is abroad. When I don't get a call from him, I get very, very disturbed. Most of the time, I don't even sleep, I'm waiting for that call. So I get up in the night, I look at my mobile phone, whether any messages have come from him. And perhaps because of the time lapse, maybe around 2 a.m., one small SMS would come. Dad, I'm sorry, I just left the phone. I couldn't charge the phone. I was busy. And, a month back, I had a new update, iOS 12 update came, and I just updated my phone. And that gave a very useful feature. It would give you the screen time, the amount of time that you've spent on your phone. And I just casually, I was just looking a day or so back, and to my horror, I realized I have spent 21 hours in the last 1 week on this stupid thing. 21 hours. And WhatsApp alone, 6 hours. 6 hours. And at times, and God spoke to me. He spoke to me. You don't even have time to call your parents and spend, say, 10 minutes on the phone, and you can casually spend so much of time on your mobile phone. Listen to them. And the second thing that says is, do not despise your mother when she's old. Is it even possible? The word despise means expressly branded with contempt. Is it even possible to do that? I have seen and visited houses. Maybe they don't hate their parents, but they have lost sensitivity. I was recently, this Christmas time, I went to a home, and there was this 85-year-old lady, and she had a stroke and she could hardly walk. And when we went in, this son was saying, don't bother about her. She actually can walk. But the moment she sees you, she will act as if, she can't walk, and then we'll have to lift her up. She just wants all the attention. And some time back, I went to another house, and there was this son. He's saying, Dad, shouting, Dad, why is it that every time you go to the toilet, you spill all over the place? And it's not that they hate, it's just that they are so insensitive. And these poor people who have lived in great dignity and pride, they would just sit there. And I saw this grandma, this Amachi sitting there with a kind of a sheepish smile. She's heard what her son has said, but she's acting as if she's not heard. And that becomes the story of certain houses. I'm not saying you are not taking care, but if at all there are strains of this insensitivity in you, God is asking us to come back and change. There are houses where one spouse is taken away by the Lord, and the property gets divided. And we have seen many times, and I've had a patient 4 days back who came and sat on the dental chair, and she was saying, this is exactly what happened. And now she said, Doctor, I am living like a servant in the house. And I saw this auntie there, my own auntie. She sits there in the morning, watches every serial happening because there's no one in the house to communicate. And she's waiting for the time her son and daughter-in-law would come in. And then as soon as they come in, they'll say, hi, Mom, and they would just retreat into their own bedroom. And she sits there and continues with the serial, watching the serial. Let's be sensitive. The time has come for us to honor our parents. There are times when these days that's become a trend. Your son and daughter has gone to the US, and grandson and granddaughter is born. Now, I need to be sensitive to understand that my parents, as they get older, two things happen. They get more sensitive. I am getting more sensitive. Second, they get very comfortable with their known environment, you know. They love to be in their bedroom. They love to go to their toilet. They love to get connected emotionally and relationally to the people around. And because grandchildren are born there, it does not give me license to selfishly say, oh, now it's too difficult to afford a maid in the US, so let mama come there. You know, she's anyway sitting at home simply. And there is mama in Washington. She does not even know the language. And she's forced and thrust into a responsibility that she's not looking forward to. And this is the common story in many houses in the South. She wants to go back to her own toilet. She wants to get out of the house and maybe go to the farm, do some digging and talk, shout at the neighbor. And that's been her life. And now you have purged her from her comfort zone and put her in Washington, D.C., and there she is like a fish out of water. The Lord says, let us honor our father and mother. Appreciate their efforts and sacrifice. Here is a letter from an 80-year-old lady. This is what she's written. This is what she's written. This is a good time to tell you what I truly want are the things I could not get enough of, yet they are free. I want the intangible. She's writing to her son. I would like you to come and sit with me, to be relaxed, take some time. We can talk or we can just sit silent. I just want us to be together. I need your patience when I don't hear what you say the first time. I know how tiresome it is for you to go on repeating. I need your patience when I think too much about the past, with my slowness, with my clumsiness. I want you to be patient with what the years have done to me, physically and mentally. I spill things, I lose things, I get unduly excited when I think about my bank balance. I can't seem to remember when to take my medicine or if I have already taken it. I take too many naps. You see, sleep just helps me to pass my day. Let me sum up. What I need from you is time, patience, and understanding. Time, patience, and understanding. These are priceless gifts, Mom. You know, there are times when once a property is divided, children sometimes don't want to take responsibility. I have heard conversations like this. You see, this elder son is getting the house. It's his responsibility to take care of mom and dad. Where does the Bible say that? It's our responsibility. You don't take care of them because you getting the house or not. And these are some of the realities that are there prevalent in our system and our society. As child of God, we need to take a stand, and we would come back to the biblical mandate. We have come to probably the last part of our lecture. But before that, I want you to see this survey. This is a survey by the Times of India, by Agewell Foundation. They just randomly got 5,000 elderly couple, above 60 years of age, and they had this survey. Shocking. 62% of them responded that they are facing neglect at home. Most common form of abuse, 3 things: disrespect, verbal abuse, neglect. Most common abuses, sons. Mind you, sons and daughters-in-law. Most common reason for abuse, financial dependence on children. Financial dependence on children. We have come to the last slide. The second most important thing, if I have to honor my dad and mom, is this: provide for your parents. It is our responsibility to provide for their needs. We have to be sensitive. They wouldn't like to ask us for money. Don't ever make the mistake of going to them and asking, Mama, do you need money? Is everything okay? That shows an intention that you do not want to give, because they are not definitely going to come back and say, yes, I need money. Be sensitive and put that amount in the account. Go there and pay that bill even before they could take the purse out. These are practical things as a child of God we can do. Provide for their needs. 2,000 years back, there is a scene that is being played there. Jesus Christ is in the last stage. He is at the verge of giving up his soul. Shearing pain is flowing through his body. Through every pore of his body, hemorrhage for the last 3-4 hours of Roman flogging, sweating blood. Physical torture can be digested, but it's the spiritual torture. By that time, he has already become the Paschal Lamb. The sin burden of the entire sin of the world is upon him. Father God looks at his son and turns his face away. So much of things are happening. So many things are happening. He could have been preoccupied by the priority of that occasion, but through it all, he looks down, and there his mother stands there, Mary, looking at him, perhaps weeping. And Jesus says, Mama, here is your son. He looks at John, his favorite disciple, and says, John, here's mommy. And the Bible says from that time onwards, John took her home. Jesus is our example. And if you ask the gospel writer, why did he do that? Perhaps he would say, to fulfill all righteousness, to fulfill all the right standards of God. Jesus Christ himself made a way to provide for mother and dad, mom, even at the last hour. And that's the call for us this morning. The Lord says, honor your father and mother so that you will have a blessed life. Just a parting thought. Your parents may not always be with you. When God comes and takes them off, there is no use repenting at that point of time. Now is the time to invest. Today is the day to reverse what the locusts have eaten away in this regard. May God help us and give us grace, and may this standard of God be a reality in our life. Thank you so much.